Question 1. An individual who has a restraining order issued against them for domestic violence is prohibited from possessing firearms for how long under California law? A. 5 years from the date of the order. B. 10 years from the date of the order. C. Permanently. D. Until the restraining order expires. Answer: C. Permanently. Under California law, an individual who has been issued a restraining order for domestic violence is permanently prohibited from owning, possessing, or purchasing firearms. This is a critical safety measure designed to protect victims and prevent further violence, highlighting how certain legal findings can result in lifelong firearm prohibitions. It's crucial for all firearm owners and potential owners to understand that a domestic violence restraining order carries severe and lasting consequences for firearm possession. Always ensure you are legally eligible to possess firearms to avoid serious legal penalties. Question 2. Which of the following is required for storing a handgun in a residence where a minor is present and likely to gain access? A. The handgun must be stored in a locked container or be disabled with a California-approved safety device. B. The handgun must be stored in a secure location, but locking is only recommended, not required. C. The handgun must be unloaded, but a locking device is only necessary if the minor has a history of violence. D. The handgun must be stored in a separate room from the minor, even if unlocked. Answer: A. The handgun must be stored in a locked container or be disabled with a California-approved safety device. California law mandates that handguns in a residence where a minor is present and likely to gain access must be stored in a locked container or be disabled by a California-approved safety device. This requirement, often referred to as safe storage or child access prevention law, aims to prevent unauthorized access by children, thereby reducing accidental shootings and suicides. Simply put, if a child could reasonably get their hands on a firearm, it must be secured. Always prioritize securing firearms, especially in homes with children, to prevent tragic accidents. Question 3. What is the minimum waiting period for a firearm purchase or transfer through a licensed dealer in California? A. 3 days. B. 5 days. C. 10 days. D. 14 days. Answer: C. 10 days. In California, there is a mandatory 10-day waiting period for all firearm purchases or transfers processed through a licensed dealer. This period begins when the buyer completes the DROS, Dealer Record of Sale, form and undergoes the background check. The purpose of this waiting period is to provide a cooling-off period, preventing impulsive acts of violence and allowing time for comprehensive background checks to be completed by the California Department of Justice. Understanding this 10-day rule is essential for anyone planning to acquire a firearm legally in California. Question 4. When transporting a handgun in a vehicle in California, it must be: A. Loaded and securely stored in the glove compartment. B. Unloaded and stored in a locked container, separate from ammunition. C. Unloaded and placed in plain view on the back seat. D. Loaded and carried on your person, provided you have a valid FSC. Answer: B. Unloaded and stored in a locked container, separate from ammunition. According to California law, when transporting a handgun in a vehicle, it must be unloaded and placed in a locked container, which can include the vehicle's trunk, a locked utility box, or a locked gun case. The ammunition does not need to be in a separate locked container, but the handgun itself must be unloaded and securely locked away. This unloaded and locked rule is a key component of California's strict firearm transportation laws, designed to enhance public safety by preventing immediate access to firearms during transport. Always ensure your firearm is properly secured and unloaded before beginning your journey. Question 5. What is the primary purpose of a clear and safe verification when handling a firearm? A. To ensure the firearm is properly lubricated for use. B. To confirm the firearm is unloaded and safe to handle or inspect. C. To check if the sights are properly aligned for accurate shooting. D. To determine if the firearm is permitted in the current location. Answer: B. To confirm the firearm is unloaded and safe to handle or inspect. A clear and safe verification is the process of visually and physically inspecting a firearm to ensure it is unloaded and safe for handling, cleaning, or storage. This involves checking the chamber, magazine well, and any other potential ammunition feeding points to confirm there is no ammunition present. The purpose is paramount: to prevent accidental discharges by positively confirming the firearm is not capable of firing. Make it a routine to always clear and verify a firearm as unloaded whenever you pick it up or are about to perform maintenance. Question 6. A California Firearm Safety Certificate, FSC, is valid for how long from the date of issuance? A. 1 year. B. 2 years. C. 5 years. D. 10 years. Answer: C. 5 years. A California Firearm Safety Certificate, FSC, is valid for 5 years from the date of issuance. This certificate is required for anyone purchasing or acquiring a handgun or long gun in California, with some specific exemptions. The 5 years validity period means that even if you don't acquire a firearm every year, you'll need to renew your FSC after half a decade to remain eligible for future purchases. Keep track of your FSC's expiration date to ensure continuous eligibility for firearm transactions. Question 7. Which of the following best describes the line of fire? A. The straight path from the firearm's muzzle to the target. B. The direction the shooter is aiming the firearm. C. The area immediately behind the shooter where others stand. D. Any direction in which a firearm could potentially discharge. Answer: A. The straight path from the firearm's muzzle to the target. The line of fire refers to the direct, straight path that a projectile would travel if discharged from a firearm. It's the imaginary line extending from the muzzle, through the sights, to the target. Understanding the line of fire is crucial for safety, as it dictates where the bullet will go and emphasizes the importance of always controlling the muzzle. Always be aware of your line of fire to ensure no person or unintended object is in the path of a potential shot. Question 8. In California, if you inherit a firearm from an immediate family member who is a California resident, how soon must you report the acquisition to the California Department of Justice, DOJ? A. Within 10 days of taking possession. B. Within 30 days of taking possession. C. Within 60 days of taking possession. D. No report is required for inherited firearms from immediate family. Answer: B. Within 30 days of taking possession. In California, if you acquire a firearm by inheritance from an immediate family member, parent, grandparent, child, grandchild, spouse, who is a California resident, you must report this acquisition to the California Department of Justice, DOJ, within 30 days. This process is typically done through the intrafamilial firearm transaction report form, unless the transfer occurs through a licensed firearm dealer. This 30-day window ensures that even transfers between immediate family members are documented by the state, maintaining a comprehensive record of firearm ownership. Question 9. What action should you take immediately if your firearm experiences a squib load, a weak charge that results in a bullet stuck in the barrel? A. Attempt to clear the malfunction by racking the slide multiple times. B. Point the firearm in a safe direction, cease firing, and carefully unload it, then inspect the barrel. C. Continue firing to push the bullet out of the barrel. D. Field strip the firearm immediately and remove the barrel. Answer: B. Point the firearm in a safe direction, cease firing, and carefully unload it, then inspect the barrel. If you experience a squib load, which is indicated by a noticeably quieter pop and a lack of recoil, it means the bullet has likely become lodged in the barrel. Your immediate action must be to point the firearm in a safe direction, cease firing, and carefully unload the firearm, then inspect the barrel for obstructions. Firing another round behind a squib load is extremely dangerous and can cause the firearm to rupture, potentially leading to serious injury. Always remember, if a shot doesn't sound right, stop, clear, and check the barrel before continuing. Question 10. Which of the following is considered a foundational safety rule when handling firearms? A. Keep your finger on the trigger until you are ready to shoot. B. Always assume a firearm is loaded, even if you just checked it. C. Point the muzzle in any direction as long as it's not towards a person. D. Rely solely on the mechanical safety mechanisms of the firearm. Answer: B. Always assume a firearm is loaded, even if you just checked it. A foundational safety rule, often summarized as, treat every firearm as if it were loaded, is paramount in firearm safety. This principle means that regardless of whether you've personally checked the chamber or know it's unloaded, you should always handle the firearm with the same caution as if it were ready to fire. This mindset reinforces diligent muzzle control, trigger discipline, and overall responsible handling, creating a robust safety habit. Even if you're sure it's unloaded, acting as if it's loaded prevents complacency and greatly reduces the risk of accidental discharge. Question 11. When cleaning a firearm, what is the most important safety precaution to take? A. Ensure the cleaning solvent is non-toxic. B. Wear gloves and eye protection. C. Ensure the firearm is completely unloaded and cleared of all ammunition. D. Work in a well-ventilated area. Answer: C. Ensure the firearm is completely unloaded and cleared of all ammunition. The absolute most important safety precaution when cleaning a firearm is to ensure it is completely unloaded and cleared of all ammunition. This includes removing the magazine, checking the chamber, and visually and physically confirming that no rounds are present in the firearm or near your cleaning area. This fundamental step eliminates the possibility of an accidental discharge during maintenance, making the process safe for you and those around you. Always verify unloaded before starting any cleaning or maintenance on a firearm. Question 12. What is the primary purpose of the drop safety feature found in many modern handguns? A. To prevent accidental discharge if the firearm is dropped. B. To allow the firearm to be safely carried with a round in the chamber. C. To indicate if the firearm has been dropped or misused. D. To improve the ergonomics and grip of the firearm. Answer: A. To prevent accidental discharge if the firearm is dropped. The primary purpose of a drop safety feature in a modern handgun is to prevent accidental discharge if the firearm is dropped. This mechanism typically includes an internal block or safety that prevents the firing pin from moving forward unless the trigger is deliberately pulled. This critical safety feature is designed to protect against negligent discharges caused by impacts or falls, making the firearm safer to handle and carry. Always rely on good handling practices rather than solely on mechanical safeties, but appreciate this important design aspect. Question 13. Which of the following is an example of constructive possession of a firearm in California? A. You are holding a friend's firearm with their permission. B. A firearm is in your locked safe, and you possess the key. C. A firearm is owned by your spouse, and you are both living in the same home. D. You are selling a firearm to another individual at a gun show. Answer: B. A firearm is in your locked safe, and you possess the key. Constructive possession refers to a situation where an individual does not have physical possession of an object but has the power and intent to exercise control over it. If a firearm is in your locked safe and you possess the key, you have the means to access and control it, thus demonstrating constructive possession. This concept is important because it means you can be held legally responsible for a firearm even if it's not physically on your person. Always be aware of what firearms you constructively possess and ensure you are legally eligible to possess them. Question 14. What is the most reliable way to identify the correct ammunition for your firearm? A. By the color of the bullet. B. By the manufacturer's name on the box. C. By matching the caliber marking on the firearm's barrel or receiver to the ammunition box. D. By the size and shape of the cartridge. Answer: C. By matching the caliber marking on the firearm's barrel or receiver to the ammunition box. The most reliable and safest way to identify the correct ammunition for your firearm is by precisely matching the caliber marking found on the firearm's barrel or receiver to the caliber marking on the ammunition box. For example, if your handgun is marked .40 SNW, you must only use ammunition specifically labeled .40 SNW. Using the wrong caliber ammunition can lead to serious firearm damage, malfunction, or even catastrophic failure resulting in injury. Always double-check the caliber markings to ensure a perfect match before loading any ammunition. Question 15. If you are a California resident and plan to bring a newly acquired handgun into California that you purchased legally out of state, what is generally required? A. You must register it with the California DOJ within 10 days of entry. B. You must register it with the California DOJ within 60 days of entry. C. You must immediately transfer it through a California FFL upon entry. D. No special requirements if it was purchased legally out of state. Answer: B. You must register it with the California DOJ within 60 days of entry. If a California resident legally acquires a handgun out of state and brings it into California, they are generally required to report the acquisition to the California Department of Justice, DOJ, within 60 days of entry. This process is typically completed using the new Resident Handgun Ownership Report Form, BOF 4010A. This 60-day rule ensures that handguns brought into the state by residents are documented, aligning with California's strict firearm registration policies. Familiarize yourself with these specific requirements before transporting firearms across state lines. Question 16. What is the primary safety purpose of the load and make ready command at a shooting range? A. To signal that the range is now open for general shooting. B. To instruct shooters to prepare their firearms for firing under supervision. C. To indicate that shooters should cease firing and unload their firearms. D. To announce that target changes are about to occur downrange. Answer: B. To instruct shooters to prepare their firearms for firing under supervision. The load and make ready command at a shooting range is a specific instruction from a range officer, RO, or instructor, signaling that shooters should prepare their firearms for firing under controlled supervision. This typically involves loading the firearm with ammunition and cycling the action to chamber a round, but only when directed and aimed safely downrange. This command is given only after the range is confirmed safe for firing, ensuring that all actions are coordinated and deliberate. Always wait for specific commands from the range officer before touching or loading your firearm. Question 17. Which of the following conditions would make a person ineligible to possess a firearm in California? A. Having been convicted of a misdemeanor domestic violence offense. B. Having previously filed for bankruptcy. C. Having a traffic citation for speeding. D. Having purchased more than one firearm in a 30-day period, unless exempt. Answer: A. Having been convicted of a misdemeanor domestic violence offense. A person convicted of a misdemeanor domestic violence offense is prohibited from possessing firearms under federal and California law, often referred to as the Lautenberg Amendment. This prohibition is typically for life. While some other factors like multiple purchases or financial issues might affect acquisition, a conviction for misdemeanor domestic violence directly impacts the fundamental eligibility to possess firearms. Always understand your legal eligibility to own a firearm, as serious penalties apply to prohibited persons. Question 18. When storing a firearm and ammunition separately, what is the key principle to ensure maximum safety? A. Ammunition should be stored in a cool, dry place. B. Both should be stored under lock and key, inaccessible to unauthorized persons. C. Ammunition should be stored in the original manufacturer's packaging. D. The ammunition should be stored in a different room than the firearm. Answer: B. Both should be stored under lock and key, inaccessible to unauthorized persons. When storing a firearm and ammunition separately, the key principle for maximum safety is that both should be stored securely under lock and key, making them inaccessible to unauthorized persons, especially children. While storing them in different locations can add an extra layer of deterrence, the primary goal is to prevent access. This dual lock and key approach significantly reduces the risk of accidental misuse or theft. Always ensure both your firearm and ammunition are secured to prevent unauthorized access. Question 19. What is the primary purpose of an FFL, Federal Firearm Licensee, in a firearm transaction? A. To provide safety training to firearm purchasers. B. To conduct background checks and facilitate legal firearm transfers. C. To manufacture firearms for sale to the public. D. To represent firearm owners in legal disputes. Answer: B. To conduct background checks and facilitate legal firearm transfers. A federal firearm licensee, FFL, is a licensed dealer whose primary purpose in a firearm transaction is to conduct mandatory background checks through the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, NICS, and California's DOJ, Dealer Record of Sale, system, thereby facilitating legal firearm transfers. They act as the regulated intermediary to ensure that firearms are only transferred to eligible individuals. Always remember that almost all firearm purchases and transfers in California must go through an FFL to ensure legality and safety. Question 20. Before passing a firearm to another person, what essential safety action should you take? A. Inform them of the firearm's history and previous owners. B. Remove all ammunition and verify the firearm is unloaded, then pass it muzzle first. C. Remove all ammunition and verify the firearm is unloaded, then pass it stock first. D. Only pass it if both individuals have valid FSCs. Answer: C. Remove all ammunition and verify the firearm is unloaded, then pass it stock first. Before passing a firearm to another person, it is essential to first remove all ammunition and visibly and physically verify that the firearm is completely unloaded and cleared. Once confirmed safe, the firearm should be passed, stock first, or grip first for a handgun, with the muzzle pointed in a safe direction, allowing the receiver to easily grasp the firearm without their hand crossing the muzzle. This methodical approach ensures both parties confirm the firearm's unloaded state and promotes safe handling during the transfer. Question 21. If you are involved in a self-defense incident involving a firearm, what should be your immediate action after ensuring safety? A. Reload your firearm and remain at the scene. B. Leave the scene immediately to avoid further confrontation. C. Secure the firearm, provide aid if needed, and call 911 to report the incident. D. Discuss the incident with witnesses to gather their statements. Answer: C. Secure the firearm, provide aid if needed, and call 911 to report the incident. After a self-defense incident involving a firearm, your immediate actions after ensuring your safety should be to secure the firearm, provide aid to any injured parties if it is safe to do so, and immediately call 911 to report the incident to law enforcement. Do not attempt to reload the firearm or alter the scene. Contacting authorities promptly ensures that trained professionals can respond, secure the area, and investigate the situation properly. Always remember to prioritize safety, provide aid, and contact law enforcement. Question 22. What is the purpose of the California-approved firearm safety device requirement for firearms sold in California? A. To ensure all firearms sold have an internal locking mechanism. B. To require that every firearm sold in California comes with a device capable of securing it to prevent unauthorized access. C. To verify that the firearm meets specific drop test safety standards. D. To provide a standardized trigger pull weight for all new firearms. Answer: B. To require that every firearm sold in California comes with a device capable of securing it to prevent unauthorized access. California law requires that every firearm sold in the state must be accompanied by a California-approved firearm safety device, such as a cable lock or trigger lock, unless the firearm is sold to an FFL or certain other exemptions apply. The purpose is to ensure that purchasers immediately have a means to secure their new firearm and prevent unauthorized access, especially by children. This requirement helps promote responsible firearm storage from the moment of purchase. Question 23. What does target identification mean in the context of firearm safety? A. Knowing the type of target you are shooting at, e.g., paper, steel. B. Clearly identifying your intended target and what is beyond and around it. C. The process of aligning your sights with the center of the target. D. The ability to differentiate between various types of firearms. Answer: B. Clearly identifying your intended target and what is beyond and around it. Target identification in firearms safety means not only clearly identifying your intended target but also being absolutely sure of what is beyond and around it. This is a critical component of knowing your target and its surroundings, ensuring that if your shot misses or penetrates the target, it will not strike an unintended person or object. Always confirm your target and what's beyond to prevent unintended harm, especially in dynamic or complex environments. Question 24. Which of the following best describes the requirement for a firearm to be on the California Department of Justice, DOJ, roster of handguns certified for sale? A. All handguns sold in California, new or used, must be on the roster. B. Only handguns manufactured after 2007 must be on the roster. C. Only new handguns sold by FFLs in California for retail sale must be on the roster, with some exemptions. D. Only handguns with external safeties must be on the roster. Answer: C. Only new handguns sold by FFLs in California for retail sale must be on the roster, with some exemptions. The California Department of Justice, DOJ, roster of handguns certified for sale applies primarily to new handguns sold by federal firearm licensees, FFLs, for retail sale in California. These handguns must have passed specific safety tests, including drop safety, as well as incorporating certain features like a loaded chamber indicator and magazine disconnect mechanism, for models added after 2007. This roster does not typically apply to private party transfers or certain exempt transactions like law enforcement sales, but it significantly restricts the types of new handguns available for purchase in California. Question 25. What is the purpose of a ceasefire command on a shooting range? A. To indicate a shooter has completed their firing sequence. B. To signal that all shooting must immediately stop, and firearms are made safe. C. To announce that the range is temporarily closed for maintenance. D. To inform shooters that their targets are ready for review. Answer: B. To signal that all shooting must immediately stop, and firearms are made safe. A ceasefire command on a shooting range is an urgent and critical directive requiring all shooting to immediately stop. Upon hearing this command, shooters must stop firing, remove their finger from the trigger, point the muzzle in a safe direction, and make their firearm safe by unloading it or placing it in a condition for unloaded, no magazine, slide back/action open. This command is typically given for safety reasons, such as an injury, a problem with targets, or someone moving downrange. Always respond instantly and precisely to a ceasefire command. Question 26. Which of the following is considered an unsafe modification to a firearm? A. Installing a California-compliant magazine release. B. Adding a custom grip for better ergonomics. C. Altering the trigger mechanism to significantly lighten the trigger pull. D. Replacing worn-out parts with factory-equivalent replacements. Answer: C. Altering the trigger mechanism to significantly lighten the trigger pull. Altering the trigger mechanism to significantly lighten the trigger pull is generally considered an unsafe modification because it can increase the risk of an accidental discharge. A very light trigger pull reduces the margin for error and can lead to unintentional firing with minimal contact or pressure. While some modifications can improve firearm function or ergonomics, any change that compromises inherent safety features or increases the risk of unintentional discharge should be avoided. Always consult a qualified gunsmith for any modifications and prioritize safety over performance enhancements. Question 27. What is the primary reason for California's unsafe handgun laws, including the roster of handguns certified for sale? A. To reduce the number of handguns available for sale in the state. B. To ensure all handguns sold meet certain safety feature and testing requirements. C. To prevent individuals from carrying concealed handguns. D. To promote the use of revolvers over semi-automatic pistols. Answer: B. To ensure all handguns sold meet certain safety feature and testing requirements. California's unsafe handgun laws, including the roster of handguns certified for sale, are primarily designed to ensure that all new handguns sold in the state meet specific safety feature and testing requirements. These requirements include drop safety testing, and for newer models, the inclusion of loaded chamber indicators and magazine disconnect mechanisms. The overarching goal is to enhance public safety by regulating the design and features of handguns available for retail purchase. These laws aim to ensure that legally purchased handguns have enhanced safety features. Question 28. Under what circumstance is it generally acceptable to point a firearm at something you do not intend to shoot? A. When you are absolutely sure it is unloaded and cleared. B. When dry firing at a safe backstop in a controlled environment. C. When demonstrating the firearm's features to another person. D. Never, under any circumstances. Answer: D. Never, under any circumstances. It is never acceptable to point a firearm at something you do not intend to shoot, even if you are absolutely sure it is unloaded. This is a fundamental and non-negotiable rule of firearms safety, often stated as, never point the muzzle at anything you are not willing to destroy. This rule emphasizes the extreme importance of muzzle control and prevents accidental injury or damage, regardless of the firearm's loaded status. Always maintain strict muzzle discipline and treat every firearm as if it were loaded, directing its muzzle only at safe targets. Question 29. If you moved to California with firearms, and you were not a California resident when you acquired them, what is generally required by California law? A. You must transfer all your firearms through a California FFL within 60 days. B. You must register all your firearms with the California DOJ within 60 days. C. You must sell all your firearms within 90 days if they are not on the CA roster. D. No action is required as long as they were legally acquired in your previous state. Answer: B. You must register all your firearms with the California DOJ within 60 days. If you move to California and become a resident with firearms that you acquired outside of California, you are generally required to report the ownership of those firearms to the California Department of Justice, DOJ, within 60 days of establishing residency. This typically involves submitting a new resident firearm ownership report. This 60-day requirement ensures that all firearms brought into the state by new residents are documented, aligning with California's comprehensive firearm registration system. Always report firearms brought into the state as a new resident to avoid legal issues. Question 30. Which of the following best describes proper trigger finger discipline? A. Keeping your finger on the trigger at all times to be ready. B. Placing your finger on the trigger only when you are ready to shoot and your sights are on target. C. Resting your finger on the trigger guard, ready to move it to the trigger. D. Placing your finger on the trigger only when you are cleaning the firearm. Answer: B. Placing your finger on the trigger only when you are ready to shoot and your sights are on target. Proper trigger finger discipline dictates that your finger should remain off the trigger and outside the trigger guard until you are ready to shoot and your sights are precisely aligned on the target. This rule is crucial for preventing negligent discharges, as it ensures that the firearm will only fire when intentionally aimed and prepared. Always keep your finger straight and off the trigger, resting on the frame or slide, until you have made the conscious decision to fire.